Welcome to the third in a series of Bureau Manager podcasts, which I'll be running through 2024. I have an unwitting suspect here who I'll introduce to you very shortly. If you don't know me, I'm Barry Matthews, been around this Bureau world for many years, primarily previously in a sales and account management role, but today I run the Association of Bureau Managers, which is an organisation we founded together last October, so nearly a year old now, on the back of the success of the Bureau Management Conference I organised last year. The association is a membership organisation. We have monthly webinars for members and for guests. We have Bureau Manager Roundtable meetings all around the country. I was in Birmingham last week with 8 Bureau Managers. And we have a WhatsApp group, which is a busy little resource and much loved by the members. And we have the next annual conference coming in November, just a couple of months away. If you're interested, have a look on the website, which is associationofbureaumanagers.co.uk. We've got more activities planned. One, we want to be more than a happy, comfortable, friendly talking shop. We want to have influence in and around the software world and the payroll professional world. I have to say, and with some pleasure, that I'm very grateful to the Payroll Centre and their ACT product for sponsoring these events. They have backed me. They're very interested in this world, and they see the benefit that the association can bring to bureau managers and to the industry as a whole. If you don't know, the Payroll Centre are the largest payroll assessment and training organisation in the UK. The ACT system, which stands for Assess, Customise and Train, is a unique team assessment platform being used by more and more bureaus, and I hear great reports from all the users who use it that it's helping managers to establish where the skills and knowledge of their team are and where they need to invest in improving it. It's a unique product in the marketplace. I have so far done 2 of these. So the first one with Tracy Jerram, who runs a Pure Bureau. The second was with Adam Flight, who is part of one of the top 10. He runs a payroll team in one of the top 10 firms of accountants in the UK. What I wanted to do for this one is to go and see sort of the bedrock of the industry, if you wish, for want of a better phrase, and go to a regional firm, a fairly typical firm of 40-50 employees. And that's why I've come to Leicester today to meet Rebecca Gotch, who's a payroll manager at Rowleys in the East Midlands. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thanks, Barry.
And thanks for joining us. I know it's a slightly nervy situation, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Not have payroll software in front of you, but be faced by me, which isn't the pleasantest thing for the best of times. So, just to sort of get you warmed up and tell us a bit about you, and for everybody to know a little bit more about this individual. So, where were you born? Where were you brought up? And where do you call home now?
Oh, wow. I was born in Leicester. I was brought up in Leicester, and I live in Leicester.
You live in good. No, that's funny because I was born in Bolton, brought up in Bolton, and I live in Bolton. So
I wish my life was more exciting, but that's where we are.
I can't get more exciting than that, surely. So back at school in Leicester, I'm always interested to know, what was your favourite subject? What did you really like?
Well, when I was really young, it was science.
Was it?
Wow. Yeah, but very, very young. I liked the idea of experiments and things. But as I got a bit older towards GCSE stage, it was drama. I liked, the theatrics and drama. I did drama in GCSE, and that's where I thought my life would be going.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
How that went from drama to payroll.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So where did you see yourself going? On the stage,
yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, it wasn't sort of, I didn't want to be famous or anything like that, but yeah, theatrics on the stage, yeah, that's where I thought I would end up. I just didn't know how to sort of get there.
Right. And careers advice isn't
It didn't
brilliant.
exist.
No, it didn't.
Our careers teacher was the cooking teacher. So, yeah, there's very little advice. So
And so it just fizzled out, did it? And you
Yeah,
emerged
sort
from
of
school.
left school. I got a cracking GCSE grade in drama, but I had no idea what to do next. So my friend's mum had forced her to do an MVQ in business administration. So I just followed along. Oh, all right, I'll do that then. And so you did your entry level test. And then I got an apprenticeship with a firm as their transport coordinator. Got no sense of direction. Doing this business administration. That's where I started.
And that's a firm still around, are they now in
They
Leicester?
are still around, yeah. They're still actually on
Despite your lack of geographic skills.
I had to put a huge map behind my desk so I could see where places were. If I was sending things all over the country, no idea where anything was.
So you were ensuring that lorries or vans got to the right place and were fully loaded.
Absolutely, and
so,
making sure we utilised that so they were going in the same direction.
How long were you there then?
I was there about 4 years and I loved it. I thoroughly loved it. Yeah, and I got made redundant. I was devastated.
What did you like about it?
I think I just liked the whole, the being in the office, being part of a team, and
Right. Yeah.
so, I just loved it.
Right.
Just felt like a grown up. I think it's like the first proper job.
It sounds not dissimilar to me. I had no idea what I was doing at school. I ended up doing something and took it from there. I think a lot of people do though.
Yeah.
Don't they?
It's very different now, thankfully. But
Is it?
yeah, I think that, well, sort of. I think you've got more options available than we sort of had growing up.
Can I introduce your offspring? Because isn't one of them quite drama?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I've not forced her into this. I don't feel like I did. She started off doing dancing and now, she's performed in Matilda at the theatre and she's actually currently rehearsing for Annie.
Right.
Yeah, so she's...
What, the main?
She's not Annie, no. She's the principal dancer, so she's still very much into her dancing, but she's loving the theatre world. She said it's her happy place.
Right, okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
You've not forced her into it, but you bought her a stage for her birthday, did you?
Well, I really do. Well, I look back and think that's exactly what I would have loved, and it's like, am I? I don't think I am.
They made you redundant there, the fools.
I know. I
What
was devastated.
what a talent they lost. So what did you do?
Good. So for a while, I flitted between jobs. I sort of did a call centre and bits and bobs, and I'd had enough, and I needed to choose a career path really. Right. And my mum was a bookkeeper for my dad, and I asked her to show me a bit of bookkeeping. Right. Completely exaggerated my CV and went for an accounts assistant role and got it.
Right.
So I decided to do my AAT, and part of the role as the accounts assistant was doing the payroll weekly for 3 firms. I'd never seen payroll before. Right. It actually gives me heart palpitations, the lack of knowledge I had then processing a payroll. It's just...
How did you do it? I honestly can't understand how you did that.
It was clocking cards, so it was very much calculating the clocking cards and entering the figures.
Into
the software we was using. It was a very old Sage software. Right. But I remember somebody going on maternity leave. None of us had a clue what that meant. And the research we had to put in to try and figure out what we were supposed to do, it's very worrying. Like the lack of checks looking back.
Do you think this happens?
A lot.
To this day? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really concerns me, and I'm sure it does you. So I'm sure that we'll come to your role at Rowleys in due course, but I'm sure you ensure to the best of your professional capabilities everything is done properly and you know, T's are crossed and I's are dotted. But how can we have this world of the dual standards effectively, where semi or unqualified people are calculating payroll incorrectly?
Well, if you think of the lady that went on maternity leave, she, as an employee, should have been told what to expect from her maternity leave, and the people doing the work should have known what that entailed, but we just didn't have a clue. Whereas if you had that payroll knowledge, that would have been sort of second nature, wouldn't it?
And here's part of the problem we have, and you know these things bug me as well, that people think they can do it themselves, and I've got a bit of software and it's really cheap and I can put the figures in. How do we convince them? That rhetorical question, because I know it's a tough one to answer. How do we convince them that they're doing it wrong? And what are the reasons? I don't know.
Until something goes wrong, they don't realise. With this one, we're talking 20 years ago, so things have got even more complex since then. But I do find, especially with clients we're taking on, something's happened and they're like, we've gone in, we fixed it and we've taken the payroll off them. They're like, oh goodness, we didn't realise. Or we've gone in to do a payroll health check or cleanse and they've realised they're doing things wrong that they didn't realise they were doing.
So the health check is an additional sort of forensic service you offer?
It is another service we offer where we will go in to somebody processing their in-house payroll, and just there's certain aspects of the payroll that we'll double check, and certain things that we know are quite easy mistakes to make that companies wouldn't realise, and then we'll go back with a thorough report of not only what we found but how they can fix that and their next steps.
Including, you could do it for them, I presume.
Or they could outsource their payroll.
Who sells that then, and how do you sell it? Because I think it's a great opportunity, isn't it, to get over that hurdle of you're doing it wrong.
Well, we advertise it. We have a quarterly bulletin that goes out, and it's in there. And we have a marketing lady that helps us market that as well. And it's something that we our non-payroll clients that we know do in-house payrolls, we'll sort of let them know that service is available to them if they want it.
Yeah. And so they go, oh yeah, I'll have some of that then.
Yeah. Some of them are like, let's. I had one recently that just said, you know, even if you say to me everything's great, at least that's a relief that I know that's what I'm doing is correct.
Well, presumably that's what you want to hear, really,
yeah, absolutely,
don't you?
Yeah. The things I see,
when you take on a payroll from in-house, do you often find there are errors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it pensions usually?
It's sometimes pensions, pensions quite a lot. There might be little things with the minimum wage that they didn't pitfalls they've fallen into that they've not realised. The employment allowance is a big one, claiming that or not claiming that when they could have.
Yeah.
Especially the bigger firms are probably still claiming it, not realising that £100,000 cap came out a fair few years ago now.
Yeah. And you just know.
Yeah, instantly.
It's just, so when did you start at Rowleys then, if it's fast forward?
So I started here in March 2015, just after I'd had my daughter. I'd finished my maternity leave and I was going back into industry. And so the role came up here and I decided to go for it. It's very different to what I was used to.
And this was a payroll role, was it?
It was, yeah.
So presumably then you'd grown into this payroll bit of the job.
Yeah, so the job I was at before, I'd moved around a lot, and me and my husband went to Australia, and when we came back, the only role I could find was payroll only, which was for Sytner head office. Right. And the manager at Sytner, she is Miss Payroll. She's so enthusiastic about what she does and she loves it, and it was so infectious that she just she made me love it too. And I did my qualifications with them and stayed in industry for quite a while before moving to Rowleys.
So you were accounts with a bit of payroll, you went to Australia, came back, and there was only payroll happening.
It was going to be temporary. I was going to take this temporary payroll job. That was 15 years ago.
It is still temporary. And I think it's lovely when you take up a role and somebody's enthusiasm is what really turns you on to it. I think it's great, isn't it? And that's what I hear a lot of in this world. Is your enthusiasm today cascading down through your team? Yeah,
I think so. I think it might get annoying at times, if I'm honest. But yeah, I love it. I love the new legislation coming in. Like, we'll get on top of it. I want to tear it apart. Let's have a look at it. And once it comes in and we can process it, even if it's not something I'm processing anymore, I want to be sort of involved. Like, let's see, what does it do then? I would like to know all about it. And National Payroll Week comes up, and it's sort of.
I was going to ask that because just how you cascade new knowledge around a team. How many's in the team?
So there's 4 of us at the moment.
3+ you.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So you see the legislation coming. How do you go about?
So we're a training firm anyway. So we thoroughly encourage payroll qualifications if that's the role, the way the team want to go. That's absolutely fine. We'll thoroughly encourage that and pay for that. Right. Then we have ACT. Right. With the payroll centre, which we've had just over a year now, and the team have really took to that really well. They're really enjoying that, and you can see that their knowledge has just really increased with that as well.
Because I suppose whether you're, if you're in an in-house firm not fully qualified at payroll at all, or not qualified in the slightest, or you're in a firm like this, the breadth and depth of payroll legislation now is such that it could be quite easy not to know a little bit of this or a little bit of that.
Absolutely.
So was it a little bit of an eye-opener for you and your colleagues to find the little gaps?
On ACT?
On ACT, yeah.
Yeah, I think not so much the gaps. I think for the rest of the team who hadn't done qualifications, knowing how to calculate a payslip from scratch is not as easy as they think, and that knowledge is there now. That's just come along with that. We do keep on top of legislation as well through obviously HMRC bulletins monthly. There's the CIPP emails received once a week, and we do an annual payroll legislation course update to make sure we're on top. And I sit on LinkedIn of an evening and stay up to date with my knowledge.
Oh, what a girl. I mean, there do seem to be a lot of resources. You know, if you'd have to really try hard to ignore what the information that's coming in around new legislation. So, one of the sort of problems around payroll, misunderstandings, let's say, is this thing about the first week of the month. I mean, the quiet week, and it's like the press of a button business, which is just a joke. Tell me about the quiet week. I
don't think we've had a quiet week since pre-COVID.
Right.
Sort of, it didn't exist. It did initially quieter. When we say quieter, the lack of deadlines. Yeah. The amount of deadlines you have in a month towards the end of the month is like unreal. So the quiet week for us is just a week without a pressure of deadlines. But I'd say only the last 6 to 8 months has that come back for us, and we're now able to utilise that time to update our processes, utilise our new software. We put set days aside for ACT, so each month you've got set days where you're going to spend a day on ACT, researching subjects, taking your quiz and making sure that your knowledge is there.
Yeah, I think making sure you know everything about the software you've got is so important, especially when, because you're on a platform that's continually evolving anyway, aren't you? So we'll come to that. But I used to sell payroll software, and I'd see people buy it because they saw all this functionality, and then 6 months later I'd see them again and they were using 20% of it. And it's so easy just to end up using the bits you know and you must use, and not tap into all the really useful bits that save time.
Completely agree.
So, you're using a product called
PayCircle.
PayCircle, yeah. What were you using before?
We were using Sage before.
Sage, right, okay. So it's quite a change.
Massive change.
So one of the changes is the change for your clients, that is employers and employees.
Yeah.
So how did they interact with payroll previously? Was it emailed reports and emailed payslips?
Yeah, pretty much. The majority, we were a paperless department and have been for a long time. We had a few clients that still had paper payslips. We still had one fax that came through, but COVID took an end to all of that. So everything was emailed. But now with PayCircle, they've got access directly to the software. Yeah. So
do they?
They have to get the reports from the software. So they have to log into the software to get the reports. We don't send them out.
Was there any resistance to that initially?
Slightly. There's a few. We find sort of the bigger firms will embrace it because there's so many different versions of reports you can have as well, and we can create bespoke reports, and it's all in Excel, and so a lot of it embraced it. Right. But the smaller firms that like to PDF and like to print things off, they found it more difficult. Right. So we probably spent more time on the phone with smaller firms than we did the larger ones.
Yeah, they seem to be the heavy. More demanding. The smaller they are, the more demanding.
Yeah, it can be.
Does that need to be reflected in price? As a general rule, would you say?
Yeah, but it's just difficult to sort of, how do you put that into place? I
don't know. I suppose to a certain extent, larger firms get a per payslip price cheaper anyway because of the economies of scale. Yeah. So I'm fascinated by this change because I come from the legacy world and I had some involvement with the cloud world. But so these people have all taken on access to their own reports. Have they said, "Oh, I'm doing your job"? Have you had that problem?
Not at all.
No. That we do hear that, don't we? I think of some clients complaining. Do any of them put their own data in, i.e.
No,
hours?
not as yet. That's sort of one thing we're working towards with utilising the software. But it'd be very much on an approach of what the client wanted to get involved with as well.
Yeah.
Everything is imported, so as it comes through, it can be imported directly into the software.
So are they uploading an Excel spreadsheet into PayCircle and you're downloading it and importing it?
Basically.
So they're typing the data into the spreadsheet, unless it's come from another piece of software, they are typing it in.
Yes.
So the argument for you should be pretty straightforward. Type it into that instead of this.
Yeah, and once we get there, once
In
we've
theory.
utilised that software and got it in place, I think that's obviously one of the next steps for us that we're looking at. The same with the new starters as well. At the moment, we key in all the new starter information. There's no reason why they can't do that themselves.
Yeah.
It's just opening up small parts of the software. So what we've done is we've given them so much access, and we keep opening it up step by step. And we have a top tip that goes out every other month. So it'll be a new part of the software we've opened up, and we'll send a top tip out, and it'll tell you exactly how to utilise that. And then we're creating a booklet as well to put all the top tips in and to send out as well, just as a reminder of what they can.
Right.
So the clients are utilising the software as much as we are.
So you've avoided the big bang really this way by just gradually feeding it out, right?
Yeah, I think especially it was a huge change for them moving from one software to another. And not everybody likes change.
No.
So we have tried to be as user friendly as we can and help where we can and make it a bit more of an easy process,
Yeah.
an easy change.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you used to send green pay slips and you could send blue ones, and it'd be a pretty straightforward handholding process. But it's quite.
Yeah, some people don't like it.
There's quite. I think the comms aspect of your role and the closeness to your clients and
Absolutely.
hand-holding that you're doing these days is changing it completely. And this is where I think the role of the payroller who used to type stuff in can evolve.
Yeah.
How have your team dealt with greater automation that you now have with PayCircle?
There was a slight reluctance at first. I felt they felt like some of the role was being taken away from them.
Right.
And we did sit down and talk about not data inputting and not taking off that data input and that administrative burden. You can actually be a payroll advisor. You can actually do more for the client and sort of do what you're meant to do. And obviously with data input, the manually input is a risk of error in itself. So
I think that mindset is so interesting, isn't it? And helping your own team through that change. And if all you know of payroll is typing in, press the button or calculate, and check and blah, 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 if that's all you know, then automation does take away a chunk of it.
And I think our industry, we're so used to working at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It really slows us down to look and advise and see where things can change for the better rather than just keying in and going as fast as we can to reach them deadlines.
Funny, when you talk about the quiet week, I mean, I think for most people who work, that's a normal week. It's just manic in the back end of payroll. And you guys are just so used to doing it that, you twiddle your thumbs a bit and feel a bit lost, I've seen sometimes. What, are you office, remote, hybrid?
We're hybrid, so we do 3 days in the office, 2 days at home.
Same 3 days for everybody?
No, not really. We have a spreadsheet that can be filled in to say where you are, but it can be changed. Life happens, doesn't it? So it's quite flexible. You can do what you need to do. If there's a team meeting coming up, everyone will try and make sure they're in for it. I do find we get more out of each other when we're together, just sort of in the office, just bounce off each other. But I do that time at home is good to stick washing on and
Well, time
concentrate.
not in the car. Or
I'm very
bus,
lucky. I live up the road, whereas everybody else has got a much longer commute than me.
Yeah.
So I think it's better for them. Saves an hour a day, 2 hours a day.
It's just not a great use of your time, is it?
Absolutely not.
I think it can be quite handy because you can sort of switch off during that journey home and switch on during that journey into the office. But it's just we all climb in our cars. I don't, and neither do you. But we all climb in our cars at 8 o'clock and drive around hating each other, don't we? And then get out infuriated at 9. I still don't understand it. Do you use any of these concepts like bank towers or anything? So
Not really.
no.
There's toil available. So if you do have to work longer hours during the busier week and you want to take that back, that's absolutely fine.
Right.
There's you can just get on with that and do that if you need to, but we tend to find that that's not needed.
Right.
So all clients, the bigger ones, will be on a schedule, and our engagement letters are pretty clear of when payrolls are due in. So each of my team have a portfolio of their own clients, and they can plan their workload throughout the month and know what days are going to be busier than others.
I used to, and I still wonder, if I'm one of your team and you look at me and say, how's it going? And I say, fine. How do you know if it is or not?
We do have a CRM system as well that will show our actions and workflows, and we all have access to each other's, so I can go into someone else's actions and see what they've got on that day.
Right.
And if it is just chaos,
Right.
I can relieve them of that burden a bit.
I suppose you need your colleagues to feel comfortable and safe, don't you? And able to say, I'm too busy today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is that the case?
Yeah, I like to think so.
And you'll just shift work around to suit?
Yeah, we have monthly one-to-ones as well, where we can talk about absolutely anything and everything and go through the workload and any concerns that they may have with clients or their workload and things like that. But the day-to-day, then they can always pull me in if they've got any issues.
Because what was a straightforward payroll last month might be really complex this month, and straightforward again next month, and that sort of ebb and flow must be so difficult to manage for you and for each of the individuals, I always think. But that's just me as an outsider looking in. It does look mad. What would you say are the most important skills required of a successful bureau manager?
I think there's many skills.
Yes,
I think the main one for me is you've got to be willing to listen to your team, to your clients, and to the industry. Your team, they're there doing the day-to-day, like you've just said. They'll pick up things quicker than I will because they see it, they're doing it. They're seeing trends with the clients, perhaps issues that are coming up that I probably wouldn't see because I don't process as many payrolls day-to-day as they do.
Yeah.
And clients, they're not all the same. It's not one size fits all. So they are going to need to meet their individual needs and understand their business.
Yeah.
And the industry will tell you if there's something coming that you need to be aware of, which is what's great about the Bureau Association. You'll sit around a round table and they'll tell you something's coming. You think, oh, that is going to hit us. That's going to affect us. Like, how are you dealing with that? And you can bounce off each other. Yeah. So you've got to be willing to listen to what's going on around you.
I suppose you need to have your ears in the right places, and that, I'm proud of what the association is. So that's one benefit of the association for you, is it?
It is, yeah.
The
that's
WhatsApp
huge.
group, I assume.
Well, the WhatsApp group, if you just have a moment where you just need a bit of help and you can just pop a message in a WhatsApp group and get an answer just instantly.
Or 7 answers fairly
Yes.
quickly, and then more answers dribbling out as people open up WhatsApp or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. It's invaluable.
It does seem to be working, doesn't it, really well, I think. Because you came to the round table as well last week, didn't you, in Birmingham, which was just a great sort of
enjoyed it,
talk around all the... Because the way they work is we bring up whatever challenges you wish. I try and sort of guide us through a discussion, but we get led in all sorts of directions, don't we? And we always end up pretty well covering most of the points that people want to. I think you've previously worked as just silos. You're at Rowleys and you don't know what they're doing down the road, even though it's another firm of accountants. One question on your client base, you said about listening to your clients. Have you got any types of clients? Any types of industries, or are they all sizes, all industries?
Yeah, it is. It's very much, it's all a bit of everything. We do have a specialised medical department here that deal with GP practices and medical accounts.
Right.
We also have specialised sectors in charity and pensions.
Right.
So we've got a few charity payrolls and things as well. So that is something, different sectors that we have.
On the medical side, are you in that AISMA, is it? Association of Independent Medical Accounting sort of
Not that I'm
people?
aware of, I'm not
you
sure.
Probably are. You probably are.
I'm sure we are. Absolutely.
At which point we'll take a little break and we'll be back for the second half. yeah, having wet our whistles, welcome back to part 2 of the Bureau Managers podcast, Bureau Business, with Rebecca Gotch from Rowleys. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Tom for letting you have the time to spend with us. And thanks, just to reiterate, to ACT and the Payroll Centre, a product which, if you haven't seen it already as a Bureau Manager, honestly, I urge you to take a look. It is something special and unique in the marketplace, and if you want to know where your staff are up to with their skills and knowledge, there's no better tool to help you get there. So Rebecca, are you currently providing a payrolling benefits in kind service to your clients?
We have done for many years.
Right.
Obviously it's voluntary at the moment, and we've tried to encourage clients to do it over the last few years.
Right.
But up until this year, an agent couldn't apply for that on behalf of a client,
Right.
which I found that's what made clients reluctant.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we'll have a bigger uptake this year, ahead of it becoming mandatory in April 26. I think the work to get that ready, especially for a bureau, and put all that in place is going to be a lot.
Yeah, so you're currently doing P11Ds as a firm.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the tax people.
Yeah, we have a tax team. Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this move of responsibility over to you.
Well, we have one of the tax team. He's been thoroughly involved in helping us set up the payrolling benefits. He'll double check the cars and double check using his knowledge to make sure, and we can use the P11Ds from previous years to see where check that the data's not changed. And they're there as advisors to us as well. They're helping us. It's very much a one-team process. We can all look out for each other and get that onto the client.
So presumably this tax individual was previously charged out at a rate to clients for doing P11Ds, and
Absolutely.
now it's going to be sort of absorbed somehow but added in to your costs.
So there'll be additional costs to the payroll because it will now be payrolling benefits.
Yeah. And will he be available to your team as a sort of a resource on an ongoing basis for queries? And
He will be, because they'll still be the tax advisors for that client anyway.
Right.
So they'll be able to advise the client and be able to come to us. And I think that's what's great about Rowleys anyway. We do have specialists in all different areas, and we do work together.
Which is funny because payroll it's easy for payroll to just be off on its own, isn't it, and not involved at all, really.
Yeah, it can be. I don't find that so much here. I mean, I've worked closely with the tax team, with the payrolling benefits come in. Our audit team will work with them if there's something come up on the payroll and they need some sort of payroll advice. We very much, nobody needs to know everything. We've got specialists in every department to know that.
And has that come down from on high, if you wish, that sort of encouraging?
It's been the mindset since I started, actually. That's very much what the mindset has been at Rowleys. Since I started, that's how I've always found it. It's very, very much, we've got specialists in every department. No one needs to sit there and know everything. We've got, it's impossible, isn't it?
You can't know everything.
Yeah, so we've got that specialist in every department, so you can go to anybody and ask a question.
I suppose as firms get bigger, that gets harder, doesn't it?
Maybe, yeah.
When you think of firms like EY with 1,000 partners or whatever, I mean, God, it's frightening. Where do you see the payroll industry heading? Where do you see the bureau industry heading? Where are we going?
I do think payrolling benefits will be the next big jump for people to outsource their payroll. Obviously, the first one being RTI, and then auto-enrolment, furlough, and then payrolling benefits has come along. And I think some people are going to go, no, I'm not doing it anymore, let's outsource.
So you're expecting more work as a result?
Yeah, I think people will just, it's so complex as well, and to know what you're doing and do it properly, it's going to be a challenge.
And while they've always had software that makes it easy, I hate that phrase, with to use payroll, they might have payroll software that actually doesn't do payrolling benefits. There's no button for that.
Well, I believe, there is softwares out there that have not got that capability of doing that as yet. So how that, once it becomes mandatory,
so that will
even
really,
as far as what the payroll software can do, it's still not a simple process.
No. So that will encourage a lot of people to.
Yeah, I think it will.
So what if? So that How are you preparing for that then? You know, there's potentially a large influx of additional
I'm
business.
thoroughly encouraging it.
Right. But I mean, in terms of your, are you going to add resource or?
Yeah, we'd need to. We'd
you'd
need to add resources and build the team.
I think the difficulty is not knowing, isn't it? How
Yeah.
much new business and when.
Yeah,
it's
so you
gonna
need to be in a
come.
good place in your team. You can't be at maximum capacity
Yeah.
and still expect new work to come in, because it's just not going to be
Yeah,
possible. You need to have that capacity within the team.
It's another thing I see with accounting firms as well, that the business is pushing for more business, and the payroll team might be full, you know, by then, and they have to say stop sometimes.
Yeah.
And sounds like you're not in that position, but you have to be strong enough to say stop. We can't take any more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because being overloaded means you're going to deliver a poor service, doesn't it?
Yes.
If there was one thing you could change about the payroll industry,
I'd give it the recognition it deserves. There's still that push the button mindset that's out there, and we don't get the credit that we deserve. The amount of legislation that is needed to process a payroll, and the amount of deadlines that a payroll professional has to work towards in a month is more than any other department, and it's stressful. It's a lot for a person, but it's always done, and if something goes wrong, you're going to hear about it.
yeah. I think, you know, it's partly not your fault personally, but it's partly your fault. You got for just keeping
We
calm
do.
and carrying on.
Yeah. That seems to be the nature of payroll people, doesn't it?
Yeah. But National Payroll Week's a great thing for raising awareness, but for me, I do get frustrated about the other 51 weeks of the year that we're not doing more. I think greater recognition would be. I'd go with you on that. What about another R? Greater regulation. And I could set myself up as a bureau tomorrow with some cheap software and I've no idea what I was doing. I can type a name and address and.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The industry needs to be regulated.
I think so. There's mixed views on this, but I think, how can you differentiate yourself as a professional bureau with fully trained staff who keep up to date with legislation from Barry, who hasn't got a clue and in fact undercuts us on price?
Yeah, I suppose that's where accreditations come in.
And that's where the Association of Bureau Managers is going to make a difference.
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to get there.
We're going to get there. This little joke we're having here is because I can't do everything in the association, obviously, and we've got little sort of subcommittees, if you wish, of people, and Rebecca's wisely or not offered to help Ross Hendren to start putting together some form of accreditation for bureaus to differentiate the quality bureaus, and I'm really grateful for that. Something I'm finding really useful right now, and in fact I'm using it every day now, is ChatGPT. I think there's a little bit of trepidation out there about what it is and how to use it and whether to use it. And it isn't the only platform either for artificial intelligence. Are you?
Oh yeah, I use it daily.
Do you really?
For everything, my home life, work life. Oh, it's brilliant.
Well, give us some
It's just
examples.
a great tool. You've got an awkward email you've got to write that you can't use a phone call, it's got to be an email. ChatGPT. Even a LinkedIn article, you're not quite sure how to word it, you know what you're trying to say, but you're not sure the best way. ChatGPT. Email to the school.
Right, yeah.
ChatGPT.
It gets you off the ground, I think,
Oh,
doesn't it, for
yeah,
me?
do you know when you hit that blank as well, you're not quite sure how to put things. Even if you want a fitness plan, ChatGPT. It will give you a fitness plan for the week. It will give, it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, I'm using it more and more, and I think, but what some people might not understand is the iterative nature of it as well. So I find them saying, yeah, that's good, but could you just include something? Yeah, certainly it will reply, and it'll reword it for you.
Yeah.
So I've used it a lot.
You've gone on too much. Shorter version, please.
Yeah. And if you draft something, you can say, I've put this together, can you have a look and suggest improvements?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it always does, doesn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
And it does. Are you on 3.5, which is the free version, or
Yeah,
4?
No, 3.5 at the moment.
I've just signed up for £15 a month. I think it's going to be worth it, really. for the benefit it brings. But so we've got a ChatGPT for tea. That's great. It's good for you. Worried about your home life, just shopping lists and stuff.
For everything. Do your meal plan for the week, including the list of groceries. It's fantastic.
Now, I used it on holiday when I was in Italy and said, I've got 5 days in Naples, what should I do? And it just churned out a list of things. So I think we need to break down barriers around what it is and get people to see it's like having a free assistant or a cheap assistant who is very helpful, and you can ignore them if you want to, can't you? So, Rebecca, is this the toughest question? I don't know. Well, let's try it. What would your colleagues say is the best thing about working with Rebecca? You've got to be honest.
Obviously, it'd all be terribly positive. I'd like to think it is my enthusiasm for payroll and the industry and what we do, because I am very enthusiastic about it, and I do sort of encourage the enthusiasm and the training and why it's important. So I think perhaps that would be.
I must admit, when we first met online, probably a couple of years back, and that came across to me, that enthusiasm, and that really did affect what I thought of Rebecca, and hopefully it does with the team as well. Just going back a little bit further, you were the only payroller, weren't you, a few years back at Rowleys?
So when I started, there was another payroll person part-time, right. So between us, the two of us were just working part-time. We weren't really a department, we sort of came under the tax director and we both did the payroll, everything had a folder. So I think within the first few months everything went paperless, and then it's just sort of grown from there really to our own department. I feel like since I've been here, I've had like 3 different roles, so in like nearly just under 10 years, the job and the department has just evolved.
So it's nearly 10 years, so that's a period of rapid and significant legislation growth.
Yes.
You've obviously grown your client base as well, and you've gone from 2 part-timers to 4 full-timers, which is amazing, isn't it, really? So when I come back in a few years, there might well be 8 or 10 of you.
We've taken over the
world. But Rebecca, thanks very much for agreeing to take part. It wasn't as bad.
No, it's been fine.
It was all right. Hopefully it wasn't as bad as it might have been. Thanks again to to ACT from the Payroll Centre, which again I urge you, if you haven't seen it, Rebecca absolutely loves it, her team love it. It's not a scary thing, it's something you can all embrace to improve your working lives. And I will say thanks to James for doing a great job behind the cameras again, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.